Yo, it's Evan from Octane and Electrons. This should be an interesting video. We're going to check out this Alienrider motorcycle riding system, the M12S. So it's a display with a bunch of other features. Let's see, scan the QR code. All right, we'll look at all that later. Here's our installation guide. So this is like a multifunction device. It's got cameras front and rear, blind spot warning radar, and then I think it does Android Auto and all, and it's like a touchscreen display. So this is pretty cool. I got this on Amazon a while ago. I haven't had time to install it yet, but this weekend we're finally have a little bit of time, so we're going to check it out. It's going to go on my Moto Guzzi Stelvio. So this is a 2012 Stelvio NTX 1200. It's my main only newer bike that I keep, and it's long distance, like my long distance touring bike, in camping trips and adventure bike, I guess. So I thought it'd be cool, like the Stelvio's fuel injected, and it's 2012, it's relatively newer, I guess, for me anyways, but it's got a digital dash and a analog tack, and it's all fine, but it's doesn't have any integration with your phone or anything. It's too old for that. So I thought, it might be cool to have map, Android Auto. I usually have my phone on it, but I figure this is the bike to add this stuff to. It's a big bike, so running some wires shouldn't be a problem. So we're gonna put it on here and see what it's like. I've always been interested in these. This thing has some interesting features. Does a lot of different stuff. It's got wireless tire pressure monitors. We'll add those. And then, like I said, it has front and rear cameras. And then it has a blind spot radar for changing lanes and stuff. So I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I've never thought about all those features. I really just was interested originally just because of the Android Auto display. I thought would be useful, but then, you know what? It's got some cool stuff. So we're going to check it out. I've never tried anything like this. So we're going to put it on the bike and see. We've got all the display there, the cameras, tire pressure sensors. Then we've got two hardware boxes, gimbal bracket, reducing bushing. So this is the mount for the screen, installation kit, wrench for your tire pressure monitor, reducing bushings. Okay. Accessory B, main power cable, wire controller, cable ties, screen protector, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Should be pretty easy to install. I looked at the unit earlier, and everything is color coded, and also mounts, with a handlebar mount, and then a round kind of ram style but ball mount, but the small version, and color coded screw connectors, so you really can't screw those up, I'm sure. So yeah, we'll go. I'm gonna pull the seat off. I'm gonna have to run some wires, so I don't know, may need to lift up the gas tank. I hope not, because it's kind of a pain on here, but I'm gonna pull off the cover here and the seat and the rear seat, make some room, and then we'll start getting stuff in place and then see what how we're gonna mount it. And then this video is it's gonna be an installation video, but it's I probably won't go into super detail while I'm doing it. I'll just show where I mount stuff, because this is really a universal kit and has to be tailored to your own bike. And then but mainly we'll see how it works. So all right, let me get started and I'll show you in a second. Okay, so here is the screen mounted. You can see the bracket right here. I have really large diameter bars. The clamp fits these big, I think they're at least 1 inch bars, and the clamp does fit without a reducer, which is nice, but I did have to use a longer mounting bolt, so I had enough thread to grab the bracket there for the ball. So anyways, mounted just fine. I expect most bikes that's probably not a problem, but the Guzzi here has real wide bars that step down to 7/8 out at the end. So okay, that's on. I'm gonna go ahead and change the or put on the tire pressure monitors, because that's easy. So here's my valve stem. I'm gonna unscrew it. They come with, looks like a lock washer underneath. So oops. Okay, let me switch hands here. All right, I assume that's what this is for. There's a flat lock washer. I'm gonna spin it down. Okay, then here is my sensor, just screws right on. So I'm going to put it in place, screw it down. You'll hear it leak for a second as it pushes in the valve stem. And then, so you can see the little nut recessed into it, and then you have a recessed wrench here. So I'm going to get underneath there, make sure this is tight. Okay, then I'm going to spin the lock, or what I call it, a washer, lock nut up against it, and then put my wrench on there and tighten it against. See if I can get a good bite on it. It's kind of hard underneath there. There we go. And then tighten it against it. So now that thing can't move. Okay, cool. I'll do that on the rear. I'm not going to show that. And then we'll move on mounting cameras. Okay, got cameras mounted. Show you what I did. You know, this is going to be custom for every bike you put it on. So just show you how I'm doing it. Still have to tie up wires and stuff. So front camera is going to be mounted right there in the center. That gives me a pretty good straight ahead view. Running down here through the fairing, and then it'll come up. I'm going to have to shorten all these or tie them up. We'll figure it out. But I've got a lot of room on this bike, so it's not too bad. So that's going to come up there, and I already have it attached here. I'm going to go to the back and show you. Here's where I did the radar module and the rear camera. So they're going to be mounted centered in the taillight. They're just stuck on with the 3M tape. We'll see. I don't know. I don't want to drill holes. I'm going to try this, but I'm going to have to watch it. I don't know. This may or may not stay. May have to come up with a mounting bracket or something, but we'll try this for now. Make sure I like everything. Wires are running there. They'll be tied up here along the frame. They go up under here and then come through and then route along the side here and then up underneath the tank. So the Guzzi's nice, a lot of room, already a lot of wiring run down the sides, and also it's not a big deal to hide some more. Okay, so I already have everything, those cameras and the radar up here and attached. Two other things. I didn't know till I opened the other box, but it has a handlebar switch. So I'm going to mount that, and it gets plugged in, and then we have our power cable. So I'm going to get both of those mounted and plugged in and figure out how to tap in the wiring. I think it has a constant tap to the battery, no problem. And then I gotta, I'm sure, find a switched hot that goes on with the key. So figure that out and be right back. Okay, we got everything hooked up and working. So let's show you how it's hooked up. And then I gotta tie up all the wiring and clean it up, and then we'll actually check it out like running on the bike. Okay, so like I said, everything's plugged in up here. We have our handlebar switch control I mounted right here. It's made for a much larger bar. It's interesting. So I have it pinched here between my control and my mount. I'm going to have to shim it or something because it's very large. It's actually larger than my large bar down here, and this is tapered right here. So I'll shim that. I've got the, took the cover off, put the screen, came with the screen protector. I put that on. Like I said, everything is hooked up temporarily here till I tie up the wiring. I ran my power wire back along with my other wires. And you can see I have battery positive connected right here. Battery negative is connected right there, small black wire. And then you need a switched hot wire that only is hot when the key is on. So what I did, I had to fix my rear brake switch had stopped working. So my brake light would always work great with my front, and I'd never, been a while since I looked into it, but I noticed the rear pedal was not triggering the brake light. So I pulled off my side panel here on the Stelvio, and you can get to the fuses and most of the wiring. And the harness was stretched too tight here. So my brake light connector, rear brake switch connector had actually can't come apart because it's not really locked. It's just kind of a press fit. And I noticed they were separated. So the harness, just over time shifting it's shifted a little bit. I off-road this bike and a lot of swing arm movement, and it runs up here. So it had looked like it had pulled tight, and it looks like it was tight from the factory, and this was just not enough. So I cut my sleeving on the main harness here just a little bit and then freed up a little more wire, so now I have plenty of play. And then I picked up my switched wire. See, ACC accessory signal is just, I pulled the terminal out, wrapped it, and soldered it just around the back of the terminal. And I don't know if I can separate these. Anyways, so that gives me a nice connection to the switched hot wire, the green there on this bike that provides power to the brake light. So that'll get tied up under here. Okay, so everything is connected and working. Got my camera, my radar back there. You already saw the front camera, so let's go ahead and switch it on. I'll turn my key on. And it'll take a second and power up the cool Alienrider guy. And takes a minute to start up. And then I noticed, I turned it on, I was getting a tire pressure warning error. So yeah, saying no tire pressure, so we'll look into that. I do have decent tire pressure, so we'll look at that in a minute. But everything powers up. I still have to set it, connect it to my phone, still got a lot to do. But I was just checking all the functions, and so there's home, brightness, tire pressure monitoring, which seems to be showing the TPMS 1 and 2 are registering, but they're not showing pressure, so we'll look into that. And then camera, so there's my front and rear cameras. I have to play around with this and see. Looks like that's how we can switch to Android Auto, record, play, go back home. Microphone, I don't know, we'll look into that. This switches camera, so full screen front, full screen rear, and split screen. Pretty cool. And the resolution on them is great. I'm already impressed with that. Like, dang, those are good cameras. This is going to be cool. I'm excited to use this. And I noticed just like walking around it, see if I can get it to trigger. I don't know the range and stuff on the radar, but I was actually getting it triggering like left and right radar warnings just from walking around. So we'll see, but I got to mess with that more. Hey, we got 1.6 bar. All right, so we'll look into tire pressure. Anyways, let me wrap up the wiring, and then we'll get some idea of how this thing really works using it. All right, see ya. All right, all buttoned up. Got my wiring all tied up, routed well, so I don't have anything pinching. It is a lot of wires, so you got to take your time and be careful. But yeah, it's fine. They're routed under there. I have them tied up under the seat just fine. Everything routed away from my exhaust underneath the edges.